Welcome to day 5 of the 12 projects of Christmas. Today we're going to be making some cinnamon ornaments. So we're going to need a few things, not too many. You can go back to the Facebook event to get the list of instructions, or a list of ingredients rather, or I'm going to read them off here in a second. Um, let me just take a quick look here to make sure we're good to go. There we are. Hello. Okay, so first of all, it's 1 o'clock, 1:05, and I've remembered why I stopped doing live videos at 1 o'clock. It's because I don't have time to eat my lunch, and I just crammed grilled cheese in my face because it was the fastest thing I could make and have food in time to be here. So, what you're going to need is 3/8 of a cup of applesauce. I am using apple strawberry sauce because we had these lovely little cups in the fridge, and I really don't think that it matters that there's some strawberry in there. As long as your applesauce looks like applesauce, I'm sure it's going to be fine. So you need 3/8 of a cup of applesauce. I got all 3 cups that we had in the fridge out just because. You're going to need 1 teaspoon of ground cloves. So I have these cloves here. And you're also going to need 1/2 a cup plus 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. Sister, that's a lot of cinnamon. I thought when I went to Shoppers Drug Mart yesterday to do my bonus redemption that I was going to get some no-name packages of cinnamon. There was none to be had, and all there was like bottles this size that was $10, and I wasn't paying $10 for a little bottle of cinnamon that I was going to use for Christmas ornaments. So I decided, how important is it that this spice is all cinnamon? And I decided it wasn't very important at all. So I did knock over my mother's cupboard and steal some of her cinnamon. This is from Giant Tiger. So obviously, if you're not going to the bulk store, Giant Tiger is the place to go for your cinnamon. I don't know how much this was, but I'm not going to use all of it. I promised her I won't. I have another jar of cinnamon in the pantry, but I'm not going to get that out. I do have this, has cinnamon in it. I'm going to use some of her cinnamon. We already know that we're using ground cloves, but I'm also going to throw in some other holiday spices. So I've got some ground ginger that I'm going to put in there. I'm going to put some ground allspice, and I'm going to put a little bit of ground nutmeg. All Christmassy spices, and the cinnamon is just there to give that holiday scent. So I don't think that it's going to matter that I'm not using all cinnamon. I guess time will tell. You're also going to need to have either a couple cookie cutters or even just a sharp knife if you want to freehand it. Next thing, why do I have so many cookie cutters? And why are they all just random things like seashells? It took me forever to scrounge up a couple Christmas ones because, of course, those were at the bottom. But I've got a star and I've got a candy cane. So you can freehand it with a knife. It's really not that big of a deal. You will want a rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, get yourself a wine bottle or something circular of that nature. And then I have just some old cookie sheet, and I did line it with parchment. I don't think that it probably needs parchment, but I did line it. And then you'll just need a bowl. So I'm going to grab a bowl from the cupboard here. Actually, I'm going to use a measuring cup. And then something to measure with and mix with. So I'll get my trusty Rachel Ray spoonula. Oh gosh, everything got real dark there. And I will get a tablespoon because let's refresh our memories. So we need 3/8 of a cup of applesauce. 3/8 of a cup. So let's find the 1/8 cup measure also. And then 1/2 a cup plus 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, but it's going to be easier to measure your spices in tablespoons. So 1/2 a cup is 4 tablespoons. So you're going to need 6 tablespoons of cinnamon or whatever total. So we're going to get our 3/8. Is 3/8 right? I better look this up. That doesn't seem like very much. Let me just look this up real quick. 6 tablespoons of applesauce. Oh, that's not right at all. Just one second. Oh, jeez. Oh, no. No, I'm the crazy one. I'm the crazy one. 8 tablespoons is half a cup. So you need 10 tablespoons of spices, 6 tablespoons of applesauce, which is 3/8. So I'm going to open up my cup here. And you know, I might only need the one. Let's see. I'm going to be kind of generous with my measuring, as I often am. You know what? I think that works out to be one of these cups. So if you have some of these applesauce snack cups, whoop, I just threw applesauce everywhere. Just use one of those. That's going to be very close to the amount you need. And I didn't set up our second camera today because, well, I didn't have time. So applesauce in the measuring cup. Now we need 1 teaspoon of cloves. So I will get the teaspoon measure. Should have got that when I was there the first time, but I did not. And we'll add that. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right, I can't get it open. All right, so a teaspoon, it's not even, but you're not eating it. It doesn't matter. And then we need 10 tablespoons of spices. So I'm going to start off with my cinnamon. This is going to be a lot of cinnamon. There's 1. There's 2. And then I am going to get my cinnamon just to finish off this one. So I've got 3 tablespoons of cinnamon in there so far. And I'll just mix that in before I start adding any more. And we are making like a dough. It's like an applesauce and cinnamon dough. So this is still, we're far from having 10 tablespoons. You've only added 3. But just so you can get an idea of what it looks like so far, it's kind of like a chunky cake batter, I would guess, is what I would liken it to. So we'll add a couple tablespoons from my mommy's cinnamon. So we had 3. Here's 4, 5, 6, 7, and we'll do one more. 8. So I've added 8 tablespoons of cinnamon. We need 10 tablespoons total, but I'm going to add in some of these other spices. So we did 8 cinnamon. I'm going to do maybe half a tablespoon-ish of allspice and a little bit of nutmeg. And then we'll add some ginger. If it will come out of the jar. All right, let's add a little bit more allspice because this ginger doesn't want to come out. There, so that's our 10 tablespoons. And we'll mix that up and see what our consistency is. This is also a good way to use up some of those spices that maybe have been sitting in your cabinet too long, and maybe you don't want to use them for food, but they're still decent for making something that you're just going to smell. All right, so this is getting pretty crumbly, but I think we're getting there. I'm going to need to mix this a bit more, but can you see that it's starting to come together quite a bit more now? Whoop. And I just threw some of it on the floor. All right, I am going to move all of this extra stuff over here because I'm going to come right down to the countertop and mix it. There. Oh, and while we're doing this, you are going to preheat your oven. Now the instruction said to preheat your oven or have your oven on 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, first of all, I'm Canadian, so, Celsius, but my oven doesn't go that low. So I just put my oven on the lowest setting because we're basically dehydrating these. If you have a dehydrator, you could just pop them in their dehydrator. I was going to do that, but my mother said, most people don't have a dehydrator. So I said, fine, I'll just do it the other way. Okay, so this is looking pretty crumbly. I'm going to dump it out on the countertop and then just finish working it through with my hands. So as long as you can trust your kids not to put this dough in their mouth, because it's not going to be very tasty, this would be another great craft to do with kids because there's no real cooking involved. You're just going to make all this and then we're going to put it in the oven. So we're getting a nice dough here. I wouldn't want to eat it, but it will be good for an ornament. My hands are going to get all stained. So it's made a nice, like it will crumble apart, but it's not super crumbly here. So Rose, I don't know if you can hear her, but she's just running around meowing. If it's a little bit dry, I would just take your fingers and put a teeny tiny bit of water on your fingertips and then add it in that way. I wouldn't add like even 1/8 of a teaspoon. I would just add super, super small amounts until you get it to the consistency that it feels like it's not going to fall apart on you. And then you're going to roll it out, just like you were rolling out cookies. So I think this is just a tiny bit dry. Just a tiny bit dry. And because you're not eating it, if it's a little bit dry and you put a little bit of water or more applesauce and then it's a little bit too wet and you add a little bit more spice, you're not worried about how it tastes. So, okay, I'm going to roll this out and see how it is. No, it's still a little bit too crumbly. Just a little bit too crumbly. You know what? I'll have this for a snack after. I'm going to add just a little tiny bit more applesauce. So I added maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'll just work that in. This is the thing with recipes, especially recipes for like a craft thing. Somebody made it up to begin with. They always talk about how baking is an exact science, and sure, you need to have certain chemistry down, but you're going to be hard-pressed to tell me that there's only one way to make a cinnamon scented ornament. All right, so I worked in that applesauce. I've got just this nice dough ball here. I'm going to flatten it with my hand first. And it said in the instructions that I read that you could dust your counter with cinnamon. I think that they are misjudging how much cinnamon people own. We've already used 10 tablespoons of cinnamon. Like, how much cinnamon do they think we have? So instead of that, I would use flour if you're worried about it sticking. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my parchment and I'm going to get my little bench scrape. Just pick up my dough, put it on there, and then maybe I'll put a little bit of cinnamon on my cinnamon roll. I wish this was a cinnamon roll on my rolling pin. That's what this thing's called. Just so nothing sticks. And then we'll roll this out a bit. And you want it to be about 1/8 of an inch thick. Oh yes, this is working way better now. So I do have some extra cinnamon sitting on the top from where I dusted my rolling pin, but I don't think that's a big deal. Okay, I'm going to try to pick this up because I did do it on the parchment so that you can, oh, I might break it. I might break it. If I come back here, you can see I can't hold it up or else it's going to break. So we'll just sit that back down and get your cookie cutter. And you're going to cut out a couple shapes. What I like to do is kind of pull away the extra dough while the cookie cutter is still on there, on the sides that you can. And then gently use your finger to poke them out. So it's going to depend on what size cookie cutter you use, how many you're going to get. I am going to get 3 stars and then I will roll it out again. Rose, stop meowing over there. Oh. So, now, since I used that parchment paper, I need another piece of parchment. Actually, you know what? Let's just go wild and crazy and put this plainly on the cookie sheet. It's not going to be in there hot enough for it to really stick. At least that's what I'm telling myself. Oh, I broke the end of my star. Now I'm going to get a spatula. Help me transfer the other 2. Now we still have to put a hole in these so that we can hang them, but we'll do that when they're on the sheet. Why are you meowing? Listen, tonight is the full moon. That cat has been crazy since yesterday. So 3 cinnamon stars down. I'm going to put the holes in all at once. I am going to collect up all my scraps, just like you would when you were making cookies, and bring it all back together and roll it out again. This dough does smell very Christmassy. I will give it that. And it's sticky enough that you can pick the pieces back up. I know, this is anticlimactic when you can't see what I'm doing, but sometimes free content is subpar. Sometimes when you're getting things for free, you got to take what you get. And I should have drizzled some more cinnamon on there. Because it is a sticky dough, that dough will stick to your rolling pin. So we'll just roll this out. So if you have a small cookie cutter, like a small star, that probably would be the best because then you can get a whole bunch and you don't need huge ones. I'll do some candy canes here. Oh, this candy cane stuck, so we'll just bring it right over. Bring it on over. Du, 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 du. And kids, you know, they love cutting things out with cookie cutters. At least I always did. Maybe kids today don't like using cookie cutters, but I have my doubts. I have my doubts. So these would be cute. You can put them on your Christmas tree. You could make a garland because you're going to put holes in them so you'll be able to string them. So we made 5 candy canes. We got 3 stars. We still have some dough left, so I'm going to mound it all together one more time. And we might just try something. You know how they sell those scent-sicles? Maybe you don't know. At like Michael's and Canadian Tire and whatnot, that just smell like Christmas. You can get different ones. You can get like evergreen and cinnamon. And oh gosh, I don't even know what all. What if, so these are like a homemade scent-sicle, first of all. But I'm wondering, what's left of my dough is going to be too small to really use a cookie cutter on. So I'm thinking, what if I just make, not a scent-sicle, because I don't think that that will work, but what if I just make some squares? Let's get a knife here. What if I just cut some nice little squares, and you can use them in the same way as you'd use a scent-sicle, like on your Christmas tree or in your car or wherever you want. We'll make some of those. These would be good for gifts, for like maybe your neighbors or something. So I made 6 little squares, and I'm just going to put those on the tray. Oh gosh, I bet you my house is going to smell lovely this afternoon. And then we do have a little bit left, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to mound it all up, and I'm going to make a couple more of those squares, because when you get down to just having a little bit, it's hard to really roll it out to use a cookie cutter on. So just roll this out, trying to make it as square-ish as possible, so I can cut these last few, and then we'll put some holes in them, and then we'll pop them in the oven, and we'll be done until they're done. So I got, these would be best described as a rectangle. There, and then I have just a little bit left. Oh gosh, I do hate to waste 10 tablespoons of cinnamon, so I will roll this out and make one last square. What do I know? They might fall to pieces. That's a chance I'm willing to take. All right, so in the end, if I wanted, I could probably make one more. This is what we have left, so it looks like a little pile of poop. I'm just going to throw it in the compost bucket. And the last thing we have to do before we put these in the oven is make their holes. So I'll show you from afar. We have a good little collection here. Now the easiest, in my opinion, way to make a hole is with a straw. Now, the problem with that is I don't have any disposable straws, and I don't want to get pieces of dough caught up in my reusable straws, so I think I'm going to use a chopstick. You could also use a knife or whatever. When you make your hole, make sure it's not so close to the edge that it will break. So I'm just going to put a little poke, stick it through. So you have a little hole, but it's not too close to the edge. And same thing with the straw, but the nice thing if you're using a plastic straw is it just goes right inside the straw, and when you're done, you can just toss the whole thing. So, make some holes. And the chances are some of these are going to crack in the oven. So don't like pin all your hopes and dreams on this project. If you wanted to make this a little bit more exciting when you were making them, you could add some essential oils into the dough. Maybe you wanted to add some wild orange in with the cinnamon. That would be nice. All right, I'm not sure these stars are going to make it. I think they're too big, but we'll find out. We'll find out. So I'm going to pick up the camera itself. Whoop. So there's my belly. I've put little holes in all of the ornaments. You can see some of them I put 2 holes because it started to fall apart. Like I don't think some of these are going to make it, but we'll find out. So once you have all of your dough cut out with holes in it, you're going to put it in your oven. If your oven goes to 120 Fahrenheit, you can put them in there for 90 minutes, then turn the oven off and leave them overnight. My oven is at 107 degrees Celsius, so I am going to set a timer for about 45 minutes and check on them because they're going to dry out a little bit faster. One thing you can do is take like a tea towel and roll it all up and put it in your oven so that you prop your oven door open a little bit if you're afraid that your oven's a little bit too warm. But you don't want to do that if you have kids or small cats or dogs hanging around because they may burn themselves. So, yeah, we've made our ornaments. 3/4 cup of applesauce, 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of cinnamon or assorted Christmas spices, 1 teaspoon of cloves. Mix it all together. I added a little bit of water and a little bit of more applesauce because mine was a tiny bit dry. Then we just rolled it out, cut out shapes, put them on a tray, put a little hole in them, threw them in the oven. Mine is at 170, but they are saying 120 Fahrenheit. I'm 170 Celsius, and I'm going to check on mine in 45 minutes. If you have yours at 120 Fahrenheit, you leave them for 90 minutes, and then let them sit overnight. I'm going to check at 45, and if they seem fairly dry, I'll turn the oven off and just leave them for a few more hours. But that's it. I will show you a picture of the finished product, good or bad, when they are done. Thanks for tuning in. If you try these, let me know. And have a wonderful afternoon. I will see you on Thursday. We have yoga on Thursday, and on Friday it's hot chocolate bombs. So I will see you then. Bye.